Shifting our focus back to Bangladesh and what's transpiring in our neighborhood, it's been a night of unrest for Bangladesh, which is imploding, and whether India will have a spillover effect or not, that is definitely a concern here in the national capital, in New Delhi circles as well. Ravi Ganguly Das, former Indian High Commissioner to Bangladesh, is with us. Thank you so much for speaking with us here on CNN News 18. I do want to ask you this, what we saw in Bangladesh in the last 24 hours, and many believe that it's only going to get worse or spiral further from here on. What's your initial assessment?
It's absolutely condemnable what has happened. And I think nobody but the Bangladesh government itself is responsible for it. Seeing the kind of emotion that, this young man's assassination attempt had ignited, it should have been clear that, any news about further deterioration and his death would have led to a lot of, feelings coming out on the street. So these are clearly mobs that the government has, that has been unleashed, and nobody but the government is responsible for it. They could have foreseen these, and this is not difficult to control. So if there is no desire to control this kind of situation, then you cannot really blame anybody else.
Do you think, Riva Das, that this was something that was allowed to fester, that this sort of anti-India rhetoric that we are now seeing in Bangladesh, that under Mohammad Yunus, ever since the ouster of Sheikh Hasina, this is something that many did see coming?
Oh, absolutely. I think, it was very clear that, anti-India card fetches votes. And now, of course, it's a free-for-all in Bangladesh, where there is, frankly speaking, what sort of government is in place which cannot control this level of violence and arson, and also attacking a foreign diplomatic establishment is absolutely not acceptable. Under no circumstances is it acceptable. So, what has happened is inept governance, which we have seen right since 8th August when Yunus's government took office, that law and order was allowed to just deteriorate constantly. But, that it will lead to, that it will one day reach this level was, a little unexpected. But we can expect a lot of violence as we move, as the country moves towards election. And I think this round of violence also puts question marks over whether the election will take place or not, because I'm sure those vested interests which are not interested in contesting a free and fair, and transparent election will, of course, now say that the situation does not exist for elections to take place.
Ambassador Das, then do you think that this was perhaps deliberate, that, the pressure that Yunus was facing to hold elections, he eventually relented, but perhaps not out of free will, which is why this is something that was orchestrated to try and push those elections even further?
Well, it's very difficult to say whether it is orchestrated or not, but clearly there was no will to stop it. And for a long time, even analysts within Bangladesh have been saying that unless something drastic is done about the law and order situation, there are n number of elements available who would be ready to, create a situation where elections are inevitably postponed. Because those who are enjoying, absolutely, those who are enjoying a lot of power within the government now without having fought an election, why would they want to fight an election and lose that power? So it is a very, very bad situation, and it's really sad that the country is going through this kind of a situation.
What is India's concern then, Ambassador Das? Because, this could have a spillover effect onto India, because we do have porous borders with Bangladesh. So definitely New Delhi is looking at this very closely and has to keep perhaps some options in mind.
Oh, absolutely. I think there has to be many plans, plan A, B, and C. I think for the time being, I think what would be upmost in the government's mind would be the protection of our diplomats, protection of our diplomatic establishments. As you're aware, we are spread out over Bangladesh. We've got several assistant, high commissions, and they are, the Chittagong one has already been attacked. I saw visuals of protests in front of the others. So protecting our diplomatic establishment, our personnel would be very high on our list of priorities. And of course, there are Indian establishments, and also, this the large-scale violence that has taken place in the offices of two major newspapers, Chhayanot, which is a very, very old cultural organization dating back to 61. And look at the significance. The attack on Chhayanot is very significant because Chhayanot is one of those cultural organizations which protested against Pakistani imposition of, Urdu, Pakistani ban on Tagore music. So why was Chaya not picked? Clearly because it was, it has had a long tradition of being anti-Pakistani. So the signals are so clear. It is very visible what this crowd, this mob under, clear, protection of this government is trying to do.
So if elections do happen eventually, and when they do, Ambassador Das, I want to ask you this. Do we expect anything to change for the better? I mean, given the fact that the two most key parties, the Awami League and the BNP, one seems to be fragmented, which is the BNP, and the Awami League seems to be driven out of the picture. So with the kind of takeover that we're seeing by radical elements in Bangladesh, even when elections do happen, is there much hope for things to change?
Look, it's very difficult to predict now. I mean, for the time being, the government has an uphill task, in front of it in terms of bringing some degree of law and order in place. The judicial system is also in a very bad shape, and keeping a major political party out of the political system it does not make this election a free and fair one. And this will then the whole criticism of Sheikh Hasina was that she was conducting one party election. So how is this election, how will this election be any better without the Awami League's participation? So we will have to see how things will work out. But I think the developments that have taken place since yesterday and are now taking place as we speak are very, very serious. And unless there is a huge turnaround in this situation, I feel I don't see how the government can create a situation where and a free, open, transparent, inclusive election can be held.
One last question before I let you go, ma'am. I just want to ask you this one particular instance, most horrifying one that has come to the fore in the last 24 hours, is this lynching of a Hindu man there. You know, the kind of atrocities that we've seen on minorities, on Hindus especially, in the last 1 year. Why do you think that this has kept happening? And if nothing changes in Bangladesh, is this a new reality for minorities there?
Well, I sincerely hope it is not. Because, we are not talking about one or two people here. The minority community in Bangladesh in terms of numbers is substantive. There are many cities where they live in, concentrated pockets. And I really hope that government is able to create a situation where these minorities don't feel any more unprotected than they already feel. And this particular incident is absolutely horrifying, and it is really shocking how this could be allowed. I mean, absolutely, I'm repeating myself that there is absolutely no law and order, and police simply does not have the willpower to take any action.
So it's lack of will, it's political patronage to these extremists that seems to be driving what's happening there. Ambassador Das, thank you so much for speaking with us here on CNN News 18 and sharing your perspective.